For many years I've been interested in my mother's past history, which we didn't really know much about, apart from certain stories. And in 1982 I decided to record Mum telling her stories to get it down once and for all. So when I was over at her place one day, I just got a pot of tea, put it down on the table in front of her, put a tape recorder down and just started asking her questions about her family, their relatives, her own relatives, what we kids were like as kids, what she was like as a kid, and just went through everything. How did you meet our father? And we went through and ended up with, I've got 10 CDs of it talking, and once she started, she just couldn't stop. She just talked and talked, and yet she did mention at one stage that she's surprised that no one else in the family's ever asked her about her past history, about her childhood, and she seemed really glad to actually sit down and just tell it. I'm Bryce Grainger. This is a condensed version of my mother's early life in Scotland before she came to Australia. Annie Henderson Snedden was born January 6, 1920, the first of 6 daughters to Bryce Crawford Snedden and Georgina Nay. She was born in their one-room home at 27 Single Furnace Road in Berryhill, Scotland.
I was born and brought up in a place called Berryhill, and my father had been born and brought up there, and I think his father...
This is Annie on the right, aged 6, with parents and 2 sisters. Her father worked in the nearby coal mines.
We didn't have a backyard. It was a big communal, big park, you know, and rows of cottages, and we all made our own fun, and we thought we had a terrific life. And in fact, when I think back, I think I had a very happy childhood. And as my mother said, we never had to go outside the door and look for strangers for us to be friends.
School, however, was not her favourite time.
No, I was a dreamer at school. I didn't like school. I just didn't like school at all. But apparently I was very good at maths. I wasn't a dunderhead.
Against the wishes of her mother and the school, Annie, 13, left school in December 1933, a month before her 14th birthday, on condition that she attend a technical college. Annie never attended a technical college. After having jobs in shops and factories, Annie went to a domestic training course where she learnt to cook, wait on tables and so on, which she really enjoyed. This led to work as a live-in help, looking after children while the parents worked. But after 2 years, Annie knew this really wasn't what she wanted. Her mother noticed an ad in the newspaper asking for workers for the Glasgow Corporation Deaf and Dumb School. She sent Annie, now 16, off for an interview, carrying a letter that her mother had written.
And she interviewed me, and very nice person, and she said, no, she says, I like your appearance, and she said, I like the way you speak, and she said, I liked your letter, she said, you're a beautiful writer. So I wasn't going to tell her my mother wrote the letter.
Annie was accepted and was very happy there.
But it was just what I wanted. It was just, I just felt as though I was doing something. I was helping with the children. I was looking after the children. I ended up, I just had the big ones, you know. But I started off, I was with the little ones and all the rest of it. And I thoroughly enjoyed that.
When war broke out, they were all evacuated to avoid the cities that were being bombed. They went to a vacated castle in Daly, Scotland, Dalwarren Castle. Here they turned dungeons into classrooms and other rooms into kitchens to feed over 100 staff and students. Annie loved the castle, finding secret rooms and stairways as well as the surrounding countryside. In late 1941, Annie decided to join the services as her 2 sisters had done. She joined the NAFI, the Navy Army Air Force Institute, and was sent to various places until settling in an army camp near Lockerbie. The camp held soldiers from the Australian Army Forestry Engineers who worked a nearby timber mill. My future father is kneeling in front. In time, one soldier caught Annie's eye, a young sapper named Grainger. They married in April 1943, and Annie moved back into Lockerbie. Only 2 months after her first child was born, the soldiers were returned to Australia. Annie and her baby moved back to her parents, who were now in a larger home. It would be almost 15 months before Annie could get onto a ship to Australia. During this time, Graham was working at bringing his wife and son to Australia, paying £70, 4 shillings and 3pence for their fares. It was refunded before Annie arrived. By February 1945, the ship was available to bring the 47 brides and 32 children from the UK. The New Zealand ship Rangatiki, shown actually departing here. On board the ship, Annie shared a cabin with Ida, her friend from Lockerbie, as well as another bride, Rachel, plus the children. This made the long voyage more bearable. The 3 women remained close for many more years. Also aboard the ship were many wounded soldiers and ex-prisoners of war, ones who had escaped from the German prison camps. The Navy gave an escort from Liverpool because of the German submarines and boats that were still around the place. After a week or so, the Navy escort disappeared, leaving the Rangatiki to make its own way, alone. One stop they had at the Suez Canal forced them to stay for a few days. When they were finally cleared to leave, the American Navy flew over the ship and dropped a load of nappies down to them. On March 26, 1945, the Rangatiki arrived in Sydney. The brides were supposed to meet their husbands at the town hall, but Graham had other ideas.
But to meet them at the town hall, but old Grainger had talked your father into going down to the wharf and had gone up to the MPs or the guards or somebody and said they wanted to use the toilet, could they get on? So they let them in to use the toilet and they never went off the stop there. Of course, all the wives knew your father. Oh, Graham's there, and that's where I got my photo in all the papers, because I was the only wife there whose husband had met the ship. And that was flashing photos everywhere.
The photo appeared in the paper and was also shown in papers back in Scotland. Her family probably saw the photo before Annie could contact them. Annie was now a wife and a mother, a long way from her home and in a strange country. Her own mother came out to Australia for a visit in 1953, but Annie would not get back to Scotland until 1960.